This is the Surly Grognards for March 12th, 2018. This is Peter Bowman, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Eric Carlson. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
Doing all right.
Excellent. So, tonight we're going to be talking about, well, I think a better way to put it is, I think everybody out there has had a RPG campaign type or genre or system or just a character archetype or character type that they love the concept of, but when it comes to actually playing it, they just can't quite get into it and get it to work for them. I'm certain you've been there, Eric, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've been there both from the player side and from the game master side. I've come up with campaign concepts I thought I thought I was going to enjoy and just could not get into them. So I figured we'd talk a little bit about that today. We'd sort of talk about some of the campaign ideas, or campaigns, or systems, or genres, or character types that we thought we liked the concept of. We'll talk about why we liked them, and we'll talk a bit about why we couldn't actually get into them and why we couldn't get them to work for us. And so I figured I'd start. Eric, is there one in particular of anything like that that leaps to mind for you?
The conniving diplomancer character.
Aha!
It's an idea I really like. I've tried a few times. Every once in a while I'll go, you know what? I'm going to try this again, see if I can't make it work. But it always boils down to like I just want to break things.
Yeah, I mean,
like he's setting up like the big mastermind plots and like manipulating people and everything. Like, hey, that feels a lot more skeevy than just murdering a whole truckload of orphans.
Okay,
and like even if it's for the greater good, and two, it's like it's a lot of work when I just walk up to the guy and punch him in the face. And there's just a visceral aspect that I really enjoyed to role playing, like being able to just act on those instincts that I really can't in real life.
right.
Like I'm not allowed to like tear open someone's rib cage and shit, and they're still beating heart. I can in a role playing game.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because I mean, what about that the scheming diplomat is that you like the concept of though?
It's such a great character in like I see them in fiction. That dude's awesome. I'm gonna make a character like him, and it's gonna be great. And nope, I'm specking into great weapons again. God damn it.
Whereas I do fall into that character more often than you do. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I get frustrated with the lack of direct answers to questions and problems.
Yes.
And I might have to dance around that shit often enough in real life. I don't want to do that in my games. I might think I do, but then I quickly learn I don't.
Whereas I actually find those characters, I almost find those more interesting than playing actual, combatants to a certain degree. Like,
sure, I totally understand that, too.
Right. Like the Space Pirates game that we did for a long while.
Yep.
After we switched Game Masters from me to Chris.
Yep.
The character I played was a complete non-combatant.
Yep.
In a Pirates campaign.
Yeah, you watched my character turn from like the bellicose schemer right into the just fucking break it character.
Yeah,
it took me all of like 4 sessions.
Yeah. But yeah, so the character I took over was he was a con artist and forger.
Yep.
Who actually was basically incapable of actually fighting, like psychologically. His species has basically combat paralysis. They freeze up when they're threatened.
Yep. But you're so fucking useful in every other way.
Yes.
Or rather, Bob was. And then you took over Bob because Bob was awesome.
Yes. Well, because he was my NPC, and I figured, what the hell, make him the player character.
Okay, I'll play Bob.
Means we don't have to work in a new character. It works perfectly. Yep. Yeah, he was just a utility NPC. And his best combat skill was fast draw
Yep.
by a large margin. He was very, very good at drawing a pistol very quickly, and was not a very good shot. But he's very good at convincing people that I've now got a gun on you, and if you don't fucking back off, I will shoot you dead.
Okay.
Now, people who know him know that, he probably won't.
Yeah, he's not going to do that.
Hey, he won't actually shoot. It's just not the way he works. But boy, he's good at selling it.
That was a guy who could sell spring water to fucking aquatics. Like,
yes. Spring water to nymphs.
Yeah. Spring water to fucking mermaids.
Yeah. It's not even salt water.
Saltwater mermaids, no less. It's like, this is toxic to you. You want some. It's refreshing.
Ooh. I like that character. He was fun.
Yeah, that's the thing. I really like having that character in the group.
Oh, yeah, right. Absolutely.
And I occasionally I should play that character. No, I should not play that character.
Yeah. I mean, similarly for me, especially from the Game Master seat, I've mentioned this before. I conceptually like having in games, the truly evil sort of the irredeemable evil for not the truly chaotic evil asshole villain. I like them. They're a good thing to have conceptually in the game, especially as a counterpoint to the more sort of noblesse oblige, I want to be, I'm a villain, but I'm doing it because I want to, do things because, they've got villains with a moral code,
right,
or what have you, which I find vastly more interesting personally, as a character to play, as an NPC to run. But and also I think they generally are more interesting villains, the ones who think they're doing the right thing.
The evil lunatic archetype lives and dies by his charisma.
Yes.
Like, if the writing's not there and you're not able to sell the character, he's going to come off flat and uninteresting.
Yeah, and it's just I can't play that character. I've tried running villains like that. You've seen me try them.
Yes.
And how well do I do them, Eric?
You're not terribly great at them.
No, I freely admit this. Almost every other type I'm actually pretty good at.
Yeah, but you're not a Joker, is what I'm saying.
No, I can't do it.
There's a difference between, say, the Joker and, I don't know, Serpentor.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Serpentor's a bad example. Serpentor really wishes he was the whole, whatever you were saying before.
No, it's the difference. It's the difference between Joker and Victor Von Doom.
Victor Von Doom's awesome.
Yes.
No. I'm trying to think of a crappy frothing lunatic villain.
Oh, crappy frothing lunatic villain. Oh, okay.
That would be like the Joker is to blah as Doctor Doom is to the noble villain. So,
okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, I misunderstood what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. The thing is, there's so many of them, but they're all so forgettable. Like, they all kind of blend together. That's the
problem, is that they sort of blend together and you forget them,
Yeah.
But yeah,
So, yeah.
But it's not just even I have trouble with even villain doing convincing villains even someone like Killer Croc it's not easy for me to pull off.
See, that's the thing. Killer Croc is the type of villain that I find the easiest to pull off.
Sure.
Because Killer Croc is a guy who's had a life of who's made some bad choices and had a really shitty life, and now he blames everyone else.
Sure.
That's everybody on a bad day.
Sure.
Crank that to 11.
Yeah. I still have trouble with him, but I can pull that off better than I can pull off the Joker.
Right.
like by a significant margin. But
Like on the rare occasion where I play a villain, like the Killer Croc's just the easiest villain to do. At least for me. Go figure. The working class villain is the guy I'm most comfortable with.
yeah, I've also, I mean, I also have trouble with the true sociopaths or the psychopaths. It's hard to get in their skin. I guess that says something about me, good about me, I guess. That I have trouble slipping into the skin of a sociopath. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean,
I have a much easier time of it than you do. Guess that says something about me.
well, no. The thing is, like, I actually can very easily like I can come up conceptually with like all the nuts and bolts of how to make a character actually, a sociopathic villain. No problem. It's just that I can't actually play it and actually enjoy it. And not enjoying it's actually a problem not enjoying playing the villain is a problem when you're game mastering sometimes.
Eric, why are you carving Roman Greco friezes in these guys' chests? You left me alone for hours and I got bored. It was 15 minutes. Yeah, hours. Actual conversation had during a game.
Yes. I've heard the story before. I'm glad you shared it, though. It's a good one. Yeah, I've tried playing as a player. I've tried actually playing a sort of a function a functional sociopath with the group briefly once. That game didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, that was my fault because I was just suddenly like, yeah, I really hate running Shadowrun. That's good to know. All of 2 sessions in, and I not enjoying myself at all.
Yeah. I admit I think I did a pretty good job of skeeving the rest of the players out with how my character was acting. Well, except for Leland, I think. I think Leland's character actually totally grokked how my character operated.
Right. You skeeved out the other characters. I will say that.
Yes.
The players are like, oh yeah, Peter's playing a psychopath. I know how this works.
Yes. I loved Chris's reaction when he realized, he's like, wow, it's probably for the best that I didn't see you do that.
What was the again back at the beginning of the Space Pirates game where you had had the one psychopath and Chris's reaction was like, yep, that guy's got to die. I'll just canoe his head when he's not looking.
Yep. And that was the right decision. I'll be blunt.
Yes. That guy's going to be a problem. I will vaporize his skull.
And Chris did, and it was probably for the best for you guys.
It was absolutely for the best.
Uh-huh. That was a weird group.
Yeah, we're basically
weird group of characters.
Villains for a long time.
Oh, you basically?
Okay, we were villains.
It was a Space Pirates game. Of course you were villains.
We could have been like noble pirates, like Captain Harlock. We just chose not to be.
I was not expecting... I'll say this. When I started the campaign up, I was not expecting you guys to be noble pirates.
Okay.
I had no illusions. I knew there was zero chance between you, Chris, and Leland that was going to happen.
No. And then you give Hannah the ability to take the science skill, and it's all out the window.
Yes, and you're a mad scientist doctor.
Still one of our best characters.
Yes. The doctor was awesome. In a campaign with a sentient amoeba blob type thing.
That was a thermivore, no less.
That was a thermivore. The Doctor was by and far the most interesting character.
Yes. Completely delusional. And the voice she do for him was great.
Oh, it was amazing. And yes, for the rest of the party, alternately, oh my god, I can't. We have to get rid of the Doctor. They're driving us insane, and if we get rid of the Doctor, we're all doomed. Because the number of times the Doctor has saved our bacon through sheer lunacy and science.
That wasn't science. That was Orky know what's. I don't know this is impossible, so I'm going to do it anyway.
It was amazing.
They're somehow jamming our sensors so we can't see them. That's okay. I've got a jukebox and a refrigerator. I will make a jamming system that constantly plays. What was the song it constantly played? It was something terrible.
I don't remember. It was
some terrible, absurd song. And it blared really loudly and therefore disrupted their cloaking technology.
Yeah.
For reasons.
Yeah, well, Hannah came up with a good technobabble explanation for it, so I said,
Yep.
fine, sure. Also, she made her rolls brilliantly, so I'm like, God,
Yes.
okay.
That's another character I used to have a lot of trouble with. Then I played Dr. Arcane. And I finally found the alchemy that make it work for me.
Which was it more. So that's the mad scientist.
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
yeah. It's another character I really liked. I finally found the alchemy to make it work when I played Dr. Arcane.
Yeah, Dr. Arcane. The really interesting thing with Dr. Dr. Arcane was a weird blend of mad scientist and
wizard. Yeah.
And wizard. Yeah.
I just had to dial back the maniacal evil and crank up the childlike enthusiasm, and suddenly he was a lot of fun to play.
Yep. Yeah. I've played a few mad scientists over the year, on both sides of the screen, and I've always had a blast with them, both heroic and evil.
Right. Well, you can totally do the evil by cranking up the childlike enthusiasm. You just drop compassion and empathy from the equation. Boom! Evil mad scientist.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, the childlike enthusiasm is really important to make it entertaining, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can do it without it and still be entertaining, but it starts verging to very sort of like difficult to I'm trying to think how to phrase it. The problem is that if it's not, you don't have the childlike enthusiasm, the lack of empathy or any human sort of thing makes the character less relatable.
Yeah.
And being unable to relate to the villain at all makes them less memorable and something less, a little bit less. It makes them resonate less, basically.
Yes.
I mean,
you need to have that sort of. If you're going to do a good villain needs to have some echo of the players or the readers or viewers, whatever, in him. The other option is the completely alien menace, in which case you have to work really. It's much harder to pull off.
Oh yeah, God yes.
But it works really well if you can pull it off. The Reapers in Mass Effect, early Borg, any of Lovecraft's like cosmic horrors.
Well, sure.
Which is what they're all drawn from in the first place, anyway.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that's definitely something. Yeah, that's definitely. I definitely agree with that. I'm trying to think of sort of unrelatable villains that are not completely alien, and I'm just not really thinking of any that are memorable, that really stick with you and you think are interesting villains.
Mm.
And like that's the thing is like there are good villains out there that are that alien but still are not technically alien, like that are human but physically, just
right,
not psychologically.
Well, again, you go back to the Joker.
Right? Yeah, it's hard to empathize with the Joker. Like,
Yeah.
well, it depends on which version of the Joker you're talking about, honestly.
Let's go with Mark Hamill. Let's go back to what I go back to for all versions of Batman villains, which is the Bruce Timm Mark Hamill version.
Well, yeah, but there is something that is not completely alien about that particular version of the Joker.
Mm.
And that's the reason it's so memorable. It's this really expertly done blend of the really dark, awful, murderous psychopath,
Right.
but blended with there is that element of actual levity in there still.
I suppose so. Gav mentions David Tennant's Purple Man from Jessica Jones.
Yes.
I'm going to say no. I can completely see where he's coming from, and that's what makes him terrifying. He's a guy that never grew up. He's a spoiled child. He's a spoiled child with way too much power and an adult's appetites, and that's what makes him scary. He's not alien. He's far too familiar. At least for me.
I mean, he's, and that's the moment that you really realize that is the moment when he decides that he's going to try to reform,
and you realize how doomed that is.
Yes, because there's part of it. There is just enough of him in there to realize that he knows something is broken in there.
Yeah.
Intellectually, he knows that. But it is completely divorced from everything else about him.
And he's
not actually bothered.
Actually have the desire to reform.
No. He's not bothered by his failure to do so at all.
Yeah. Like he's he feels like reform is the desire to reform is just another way of getting what he wants out of Jessica.
Exactly.
And even if he doesn't completely realize it himself. And that's, again, what makes him so terrifying. Jesus Christ, that's a good villain.
Oh, God, yes. It's, honestly, as I said, it's the best of the Netflix Marvel villains, easily.
Yes.
And probably the best best of the sort of this era of Marvel cinematic villains.
Yes.
I'd say he's a better villain than any of the movie villains.
Oh, absolutely. They spend time with him is one of the reasons.
Why. Yeah, I mean, as much fun as Loki is.
Loki becomes less of a villain and more of just another character, particularly in Thor: The Dark World, which is a relatively weak movie with its moments, and Ragnarok, which is fucking amazing if you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen Dark World either, so
okay.
But I'm specifically in Avengers. Loki is the main villain.
Yes,
and he is a lot of fun. And God, I love Tom Hiddleston's portrayal of him.
Absolutely.
But he's not the Purple Man.
No.
He's not Kilgrave. He's not even. I mean, neither. Both Fisk and Kilgrave are much more compelling villains.
Well, that's because we spent so much time with them. They have time to breathe and develop.
Absolutely.
Like they have to sell Loki in 2 movies.
Yep.
Those being the first Thor movie and Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 4.5 hours with him, maybe.
But I will say, even ignoring that though, like, it's not just that. It's how, like, both Kilgrave and Fisk don't show up for a while in the series that they're in. And
no, but you feel their effects.
You feel their effects.
There's a gravity to them.
But the more important thing is how quickly the character comes over and you get the character. And you get how compelling a villain they are immediately.
Again, I think that's part of it because they're their effects on everything around them, that you feel the waves that they create through their actions long before they ever come on screen.
Yes, but they're also still better
especially
written. Even ignoring that, they're still better written villains in their initial appearance
Sure.
than when you first see Loki, as an example.
Sure.
Or any of the movie villains. They're just very well written villains, is what I'm saying. And again, the performances that D'Onofrio and Tennant give are just...
They really knock it out of the park.
Jesus.
They really just... Holy shit, I haven't seen someone try to sell shit like that since, yeah.
But the other thing is that how vastly different Kilgrave and Fisk are.
Yes.
Because, Kilgrave is, as we meant to discuss, and Fisk is utterly convinced he's the good guy.
Yes. And Jesus Christ, season 2 of Daredevil took a nosedive as soon as they stopped concentrating on him. Like, I just don't like Elektra. Never have.
What? No. Elektra's great. I can't finish the sentence. Couldn't finish saying the word great. Dear Lord. She's just not that interesting a character.
They work really hard to make her interesting in the Daredevil show. But I just don't give a shit. I'm sorry.
That said, she's one of the most hilarious parody send-ups I've ever seen.
This is from The Tick?
Yes.
Yes.
Oedipus.
Yeah.
It's a terrible name to blame my parents. Still one of the best jokes I've ever read. My name's Oedipus. That's a terrible name. Blame my parents. It's such a good joke.
It really is.
It's so good. Anyways, back to the main topic at hand, though. Is there any other character types that in particular you can think of, Eric, or should we move on to like campaign settings or systems?
I'm sure I'll think of them as we go along.
Sure. All right. We can move on. Are there any campaign settings or systems that you like conceptually that you've been unable to get into?
Shogunate era Japanese stuff.
Okay. Yep.
That's something I really love the concept of.
Yep.
And I want to try again at some point. Every time I've done it, I like the thing that I really find fascinating and enjoy about it is the exact same thing that exasperates me. Which is the whole like complex interweaving aspects of like Bushido and one's place in society as a samurai and all of this and like and the rigid hierarchy and one's devotion to their lord and all of that.
And the interactions between keeping face and honor.
Yes, and all of that's really cool and interesting. And it's also the exact same thing that exasperates the fuck out of me as soon as I immerse myself into it as a character.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it's just like, this is really cool. I really love this idea. Why can't I just tear his face off?
Yeah.
Why can't I just tell him to his face he's being stupid? That would solve everything, but I can't.
The really interesting thing is that's actually an interesting character type to have in that setting.
Yes. And that's the thing. The thing is, I want to do that because it would be a challenge to my role-playing things. Otherwise, I just end up playing Crab again. And I always end up playing Crab.
But yeah, my point being, though, is like the character who desperately wants to be blunt and straightforward, but knows it's not the way you're supposed to do things. And is constantly trying to rein that in. That's a really interesting character in that sort of setting.
Yes, except that's not a character, that's just me.
Fair point.
I just want to tell you to stop being an idiot and look at the facts. Except you probably are aware of the facts, and it's all a thing to save face, but it's the exact wrong thing to do. Oh my god, I'm going to set this whole world on fire. And I love the idea of it. I love trying to do that, but about 2 sessions in, I just want to burn everything.
I confess, I think I've not played a lot of games in that setting, role playing games. Played video games set in that era,
Right.
and I played tabletop war games set in that era, all of which I find interesting. I've played characters that I have played samurai type characters in other settings, like the samurai, the samurai who's left his homeland is somewhere else now. I've done that before, and I've both played and tried running a sort of a more traditional set within the Warring States period or what have you in Japan, or a Japan equivalent,
Right.
and in terms of running the game, I've never gotten very far into it. It's sort of similar to what you're talking about.
Right.
I get fed up with running it. I'm like, no. I've done much better as a player. The problem is that every game I've played in, I run into a different problem than what you're talking about. My problem is virtually every art system I've ever played in that setting has been a system I cannot stand.
I can totally see that. Yes.
I cannot stand Legend of the Five Rings mechanically as a role-playing game. The system just drives me batty. I get why some people like it, but it has almost all of it has virtually all of White Wolf's vices and none of its virtues. Which,
yeah, I think you might be right. Like, you don't even get to be a giant, fuck off werewolf. If you couldn't tell, werewolf was my favorite version of the White Wolf World of Darkness.
I have noticed that. My favorite
figure.
Of the World of Darkness stuff, mine's Mage,
which is also really cool.
Which is unfortunately also the weakest mechanically of the bunch.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Especially First Ed Mage, oh my god.
Oh, man. Changeling was probably my favorite conceptually, and the one I liked the least mechanically.
Oh, god.
I really like the idea behind behind Changeling.
Yep.
But mechanically, it just felt like trying to play basketball with no arms and your legs, replaced with tractor treads.
Okay. Yeah, I looked at Changeling. I will say Changeling is not the. When I said Mage is the weakest mechanically, I'm wrong.
It's
that
Changeling.
title goes. No, it's not. It's Wraith the Oblivion.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
That was terrible.
Wraith the Oblivion, a world so nihilistic it's a parody of itself.
And they didn't think it was.
Yeah.
God, that game is just so earnestly bad.
It's so just... Guys, put down the razors. Put down the razors. If you want to do Grimdark, here's 40K. They at least have a sense of humor about it.
Like, guys, you can listen to things other than Sisters of Mercy. You know that, right?
I wouldn't even give them the benefit of the doubt. Sisters of Mercy.
Yeah,
That's Morrissey at his most pompous.
You're right. Oh, you're so right. Oh.
Also, I really like Sister Mercy.
I do too. I do too, Eric. I like Sisters of Mercy a lot. But if it's literally the only band you listen to, there's an issue here.
Yeah, this is true.
I can say that about virtually any band. If you only listen to one band, there's a problem.
I would love comic books, so I only collect X-Men titles.
That's more forgivable.
If only because there's so fucking many of them.
Yes.
At least there used to be. I don't know if there still are.
Probably. I don't know. I don't care. I've stopped caring about Marvel comic books a long while ago. Same with DC.
Sadly, I have to say the same. I still love those worlds, and I love watching media set in it.
I do.
I just don't really give a shit about the comics anymore.
There are individual characters I think are interesting, and I wouldn't mind reading them, but I'm not going to go out of my to do that. As I've said before, I've stopped following comic books because of the characters or anything like that. I follow authors
Right.
at this point, and there's some new authors I really should check out at some point. Like I've heard everything I've heard about the people the author writing Miss Marvel has been really good, and whoever's writing Squirrel Girl, I've got to check both of them out.
Yeah, I have to check both of those out. Those are
At
I've
some
heard are
point.
really good.
But,
Saga continues to just blow me away. Every time.
I've got to read
Great.
Saga at some point. It's on my list.
Yeah, if I ever saw you in Meat Space, I'd just lend you my copies. But
Yes. We rarely meet up anymore.
yes,
Unfortunately.
sadly.
Yeah. Yeah, then I get my copy of Fantasy Hero back from you.
What? No.
But at any rate, yeah, Samurai Game. I really, really want to like those, but like, just none of this is. Like, I imagine you could probably do a decent Samurai game using 4th edition D&D that would be fine and would work.
Sure.
But I've not actually done it. Like, the only D&D fan that are sort of, Samurai era game I've ever played in was, Oriental Adventures in 2nd edition AD&D.
Way back in the day.
Yeah.
When the idea of calling it Oriental Adventures is a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah. No.
Here's the problem with Legend of the Five Rings when it comes to me.
Yep.
I have not yet played a Nezumi. If I ever end up playing friggin' Legend of the Five Rings, there is no way you're going to keep me from playing a goddamn Nezumi ninja. Named a Nezumi.
Honestly, if I was going to, like, I would love to come up if I should come up with a fantasy setting where that's actually possible. Something like that that sort of thing would be possible. Like, a setting which is not strictly speaking just Japan, but you could have so that someone could actually play like, a Ratman ninja, a Nezumi ninja. That's a really cool idea. I like that as a concept.
You see, if it's not in Legend of the Five Rings, then it's totally falling into Clan Eshin's Skaven Assassin. And I won't even mean to do it. It'll happen slowly over the course of the campaign.
But what if the Nezumi are from the Japanese, or only from the area that's influenced by Japan?
So is Clan Eshin.
Shush. I can set up a world where it won't work well.
It'll be
That won't necessarily stop you. I know this.
It won't stop me. It'll be a slow progression over the course of the campaign that I probably won't even realize is happening till I realize I'm muttering "kill, kill, man" things under my breath.
And that's okay. But yeah, God, what are the other? But yeah, so there's that. I can think of another. I can think of a specific game and system I love conceptually and cannot get to work. I adore White Wolf's Exalted. There's so much about that setting I love.
I've heard a lot about it, and it seems like a really neat idea, but I haven't run into a game that I haven't run into anyone running it. Rather, I haven't run into anyone I'd want to play with running it.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, there's so much about Exalted I would love to run, but then it's saddled with the fact that it's a fucking White Wolf game.
Right.
And I can't stand their games mechanically.
I have less issues with them mechanically.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might change now. It's been 15 years.
Oh,
since
sure. No, I totally grok that. Here's the other thing, Eric, is that. So I actually played in a couple of sessions as a player of Exalted First Edition, and
Okay.
there were things about it I liked and things about it I didn't, and most stuff I didn't like about it was the White Wolfisms.
Right.
And White Wolf, to their credit, looked at Exalted and realized, okay, yeah, this is a setting that requires a more structured system than White Wolf normally does.
Right.
Okay. So they actually came up with a version, second edition Exalted, actually had an actual structured, mechanics for actually how to run combat. A thought out sort of, mechanical system for actual fighting, which is important. It's a big thing about an Exalted.
Right.
The excuse for Vampire was that combat is not supposed to be a big thing in Vampire. Like,
You haven't met me.
but from a setting standpoint, fights are
Right.
supposed to be rare in Vampire.
This is true. And to be perfectly honest, on the few occasions where I played Vampire, I did not do a lot of fighting. I was
Right.
good at it, but it was not necessary for me to do a
Well,
lot
they're
of
fine,
fighting.
and that's fine. And Vampire is a political game at its heart, conceptually.
Yes.
It may not always play out that way. It doesn't always play out that way. Uh, that's the same with Werewolf. Also, is another very political game at its heart.
Yes. Absolutely.
It
The
again doesn't always play out that way, but
generally a smaller scale with Werewolf, but
Mhm.
yes, absolutely. I'm also very diplomatic because there's a lot of like talking with spirits and shit.
yes. Oh, also just the
Um,
interclan politics.
Yep.
And
The I miss Ronald Shepard, who was my Brujah communist.
I like it. And
Beatnik Brujah communist.
and there's a lot. There doesn't have to be a lot of combat in Exalted, but it's intentionally a big swords and sorcery fantasy setting, which has certain implications.
Which, yes, means that fighting's going to be happening.
Right. And they definitely had a more structured combat system in second edition.
I
wasn't a
haven't
good
looked
structured
too closely
system.
at it, but right.
Like the sort of the way sort of combat actions and initiative worked was sort of vaguely reminiscent of the way Feng Shui works, which is not a bad system, except that Exalted's more complicated.
But what makes Feng Shui work is that it's
Not.
yeah. The lack of complexity and the way it encourages batshit insane maneuvers is what's glorious about Feng Shui.
Yeah. Exalted is so almost good. Like Exalted would. This is something both my friend Jesse and I have talked about. And Jesse mentioned this first, and I agree with him completely. Exalted would be a phenomenal setting for something like Hero System. With a strong, structured, tactical combat system that you could glue an actual interesting setting on top of. And I'm certain you could do it. I bet that people have done sort of, actual conversion work to convert Exalted over to Hero System.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm not willing to put that much work in, and I don't feel like tracking it down. But yeah,
a system that I hate, but I love everything else about it. Just the actual system is the Fantasy Flight 40K games.
Oh,
like I really love like the way they set up like Rogue Trader and Dark Heresy and Death Watch and Black Crusade. Those are really great detailed versions of the way you can play in the 40K universe,
right,
and not have it just be like, and I shoot my bolter at the whatever.
Sure, right.
They're really interesting, unique takes on 40K and how to play in it. And like I adore the idea behind Rogue Trader, but I just do not enjoy the old like percentile based die roll, or the manner in which it's Warhammer Fantasy in space is the problem. And Warhammer Fantasy is another one where I really love the idea, but Jesus Christ, I hate, like, you suck at everything!
Yep. Yeah, you do. This is the thing I'm best at after character creation. What's your chance of succeeding? 40%!
Yeah, 40%, maybe 45% if you rolled really well on your character. But, like, Rogue Trader is the one that really gets me, because, Jesus Christ, like, you have a giant fucking Imperial starship, and the whole idea is you're being Captain Cook in the 40K universe. You're going out and you're finding new life and new civilizations and finding ways to exploit them. And just it's such a cool idea, and it gives you such wide open ideas, character concepts to play, because it's You're a rogue trader. You're not bound by Imperial law. Who the fuck's going to call you on it anyway? You're out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Right, exactly.
So yes, you can play a Kroot mercenary, an Orc freebooter, an Eldar corsair, a heretical tech priest who's all about like biomechanics and AI. Those are characters I played with. Like, yeah, and it's such a neat idea, but Jesus Christ, I hate the fucking system.
Yeah,
I have high hopes for the new 40K game that's coming out.
Cool. I'm glad that you have high hopes for it.
Rather than high hopes, I have.
You're hoping it's good.
I'm hoping it's good.
Right.
I want it to be good, is what I'm saying.
Yep. Let's
Yes,
see.
Gav, at least it's not Inquisitor, the game system that had no actual rules, but it had a fucking 400-page rule book.
Oh, so you mean first edition Mage the Ascension?
Yes.
God, that Mage the Ascension is my standard bearer for. God, I love this setting. God, I hate everything else about this game.
Yes. It's Rogue Trader for me.
Yeah. I've got another one, which is I've got both a game and setting that I love the concept of that I've just never really been able to get into. And it's not that I hate the system even. It's just I've never clicked into it. And it's one I know you love.
What's that?
Shadowrun.
I understand why. I totally grok why you don't like Shadowrun.
There is so much about Shadowrun I adore. And
well, it's a FASA game, so it automatically has amazing world building and shitty systems.
But I've tried playing under multiple editions of the system, though I've avoided the worst of them because I didn't start trying to play Shadowrun until third,
which is exactly the right place to start playing Shadowrun. I played second; it was tough. I took one look at one and ran screaming.
And oh god, I've played the 2 sessions of fourth you ran.
Yep.
And it's not. I don't even dislike the systems that much. This is not my cup of tea, but they're not bad. They're not terrible systems. They're okay, in my opinion.
Right.
And there's a lot about the world I think is really interesting and neat, and I've just never been able to just zen with it. And like, I've had people ask me to run Shadowrun multiple times, and I've been like, I could not run a Shadowrun game. I don't think I could do it.
I don't know about that. I think it would be a very unconventional Shadowrun game that you would...
That maybe, but I just don't have enough interest in the world. I think it's a really interesting world, and it just doesn't grab me well enough to make me want to like write anything for it.
I grok that. Like, honestly, the Shadowrun game I'm in right now on Tuesdays, now Thursdays, because Chris has a different job.
Aha.
Well, at least for the foreseeable future, which is 2 weeks.
Aha.
Right. That's relatively unconventional. Not because we're not playing street level scumbags, we're totally doing that. Mm-hmm. But like I think we've done all of like 2 traditional corporate Shadowrun corporate Shadowruns where you have to break into a facility and steal something.
Mm-hmm.
They've almost all revolved around just like Chris and to a lesser extent Matt are really good at picking up like cues from the characters that we're playing
mm-hmm.
and doing stuff that would get our characters into them.
Sure.
Chris is really good about doing it in such a way that makes me think it's awesome. Matt is really good about doing it in such a way that makes me like, God damn it, fuck you, Matt. How dare you manipulate me this way? Like there is one where Hannah's playing a high school senior who's getting into Shadowrun as a way to like get attention from her parents without really realizing that. Hannah's character is a giant ball of neuroses, as any good Shadowrunner should be.
Well, sure, fair point.
and like there's this like huge long thing where like one of her roommates at the boarding school she's at disappears, and we have to track her down. So like there's like Hannah like hacking like school records and like talking to our friends while I'm doing like street level investigation because I'm a detective and a monster hunter. That's my shtick.
Right.
And Matt's character is doing various magical whatnots because he is somehow a Kabbalist mage that's also really into Trentic sex magic.
Okay, sure.
Because Matt's character is an absolute hedonist.
Okay, given from talking to Matt and hanging out with him and
it makes perfect sense if you know Matt.
And knowing the characters I've heard of that he's played, I'm not surprised.
Yes, if you know Matt, it makes absolutely sense. And like having like, and then like finding out like there's like the 3 different like organized crime syndicates involved because turns out she was secretly the daughter of a fucking Chinese mob boss.
Okay.
And yeah, and all the politics that fell into all of that, and that was awesome. And then Matt has my vampire hunter hired by a vampire to hunt other vampires. It's like he knows a way to do it because he did like 6 months because the vampire did 6 months of legwork on the other fucking vampires for me, so I can't turn it down. But it means working for a vampire.
Damn. Oh my god, that's good.
I'm just like, fuck you, Matt.
I hate to say it. That's the sort of thing I do also.
I know, but Matt doesn't. It was Matt, so that made it annoying.
I've done that sort of thing to you before.
Yes. And I've always responded with, fuck you, Peter.
Well, of course you have. It's the right answer. I also try to balance it out with stuff that makes you go, fuck yeah, that's awesome. I try to move between both those poles. Oh, God. I've told you about the one Shadowrun character I played for any significant period of time, right, Eric?
The one in the game I ran? No, because that was all of 2 sessions.
No, I did the 3rd edition character I played. Oh, God. So I actually played a troll who went by the name of Gronk.
Trolls are awesome. Not mechanically. I mean, they are also mechanically, but they're trolls, so
right.
You know.
But everyone called him Gronk, and he sort of came across as your sort of stereotypical big dumb troll.
Right.
That's because he was very good at playing the big dumb troll.
Mm.
He was actually ex-Army Special Ops.
This is exactly a character concept I had for this campaign, and I rejected in favor of the Monster Hunter. I was this close to playing that exact character.
Yeah, so he was ex-Special Ops. He got the nickname Gronk in the Army because that was the type of beer. It was a type of cheap beer he was fond of.
Right.
And he was he's a big strong troll. He didn't have a ton of cyberware. I think I had like the one of the bone lacings, the not metal one. I forget which one that was.
Plastic bone lacing,
yeah,
or I think there's a ceramic one too. But that doesn't make any sense. No, it must have been. It must be plastic. Yeah,
I think it was plastic bone lacing. Not that high level of wired reflexes. Of course, you had wired reflexes.
Right.
He had an adrenal pump because that's fair on a troll. And then he had several chipjacks and a smart gun. That was basically it. And he had a wide collection of very useful sort of chipjacks for various lots of skill chips. For
that's such an underutilized bit of cyberware in Shadowrun. It is freaking awesome, and no one takes it.
Why? That's amazing. I need to change out what skills I know.
I know.
I need to know how to use. I need to know demolitions today. Click. I know kung fu.
I see the one for knowledge skills a lot more often than I see the one for the active skills.
Right.
Because there's a difference in Shadowrun. Knowledge skills. purely cerebral stuff, action skills, stuff that requires actual muscle memory.
Yep. But yeah, it's like one of the most common ones I used was demolitions.
Yep.
And they were chips that he was given when he was set up from the army because they needed him to have a flexible set of skills, and this is the easiest way to do it. Change up so he can change up what he needs to know on the fly.
I know kung fu, right? Exactly.
Yet, I loved Gronk was a lot of. I love the character Gronk conceptually, but like again, it was Shadowrun, so I played it for a while. But I eventually the campaign petered out. I was like, okay, that's fine. The game never really grabbed me.
I totally grok that. One of the amusing things about Matt's Kabbalistic mage is he awakened to his magic late in life, so he's got a chipjack also for skill softs, the knowledge skills. And one of the things he uses a lot of different language skills, because he's got the highest charisma in the group,
sure.
And he's our face man, because he's a mage, obviously.
Well, yeah.
But one of the things we'd always joke is somehow the guy that gives him the chipjacks, where he gets his skill sets, is almost always the hick version. Like, the character's actually from Japan. Like, he's I'm not gonna lie, part of the concept of the character is an unwitting pastiche and stereotype of all sorts of anime tropes.
Right.
It's kind of the joke.
Right.
And like, he needed to speak Japanese because I've got a charisma of 2.
Right.
So he needed to be the face man, and he's talking in Japanese, and afterwards I'm like, you got the Osaka chip, right? The what? You sound like a fucking hick, dude. Why didn't you say anything?
I thought it was funny.
Well, it would have been involved interrupting, and you told me never to interrupt.
God damn it. That's great, dude. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I should probably try building Gronk in Hero System as a superhero. That'd be kind of fun. I can actually I know how I would do it too. Wow. Okay.
So our friend Ben, Ben,
yep.
Briefly joined the group before he had to drop out, and we were playing the game, and he like a session halfway through the first session, he looks at me and goes, "Eric, you're aware you're playing like trench coats and a trench coats and katana type character, right?" That's kind of the joke, Ben. Yes.
That's great. Yeah, I've always thought Cyberpunk was. As I said, it was a real. This is not Cyberpunk. Well, Cyberpunk too, but specifically Shadowrun. I've always thought it was a really cool concept, but it's just never gelled with me.
I totally agree. Shadowrun is one of those systems I really like, and I really like to work for, and I've never been in a campaign that lasted beyond 2 sessions. In one case, because everyone died in the second session.
Oh, Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought.
Cyberpunk
Yeah.
2020.
Oh man.
Which there are lots of things I like about it. I like that it's lethal, but I think it's a little too lethal.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, is that game fucking lethal?
Yep. Yeah.
It doesn't immediately seem so until you actually get into combat and someone's head explodes from a fucking like 22 pistol wielded by some like 14-year-old ganger.
Yeah. No, so I remember. Okay, this is another one. I'm old. I remember when Cyberpunk 2020 came out, and I was in high school.
I still have my copy of first edition somewhere.
So back then this is when I got to know a bunch of other people. I got to know a bunch of other role players other than the ones I knew, the few people I knew before that. So I got a whole new group of people who played role-playing games where I got introduced to a whole bunch of different systems at this point. Like, up to that point, I had played... All the systems I played were games I had discovered and picked up and introduced to my group of players, the people I played with.
Yep.
So that was, of course, Dungeons and Dragons of various sorts.
Yep.
I'd stumbled across the GURPS Basic set in my local game store and thought, a universal system, that sounds neat. Uh,
Yep.
Middle Earth role playing, because I'm a giant Tolkien geek. Uh, I was more so then than I am now,
Who
honestly.
from our generation isn't, honestly?
Mm, um,
What nerd from our generation isn't? Let me qualify that.
I've read the Silmarillion multiple times. Uh,
I think I've only read it the one time, but I did read it.
yeah, yeah. Let's see let's see. Middle Earth role playing, which by extension means I was aware of Rollmaster. Uh,
Yep.
there was something
Worldmaster I
else.
really liked at the time. Not so much anymore.
Yeah. Well, I liked D&D whole second edition a lot at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
I've now played better games, and I'm like, yeah, no.
Uh, yeah, I really liked D&D second edition at the time. It was the only game system I played.
Yep. I played a bunch of
Then
other.
I play.
I think I played virtually all of TSR's various other games at the time. Like I played Gamma World. I'd played Star Frontiers. I played Top Secret. Was that was the spy game basically.
Right.
Uh,
I always wanted to try out Gamma World. I've never have. Gamma World's the kind of batshit insanity that really entertained me.
Gamma World, I played a little bit of it back then, and I've played the new edition, which was a lot of fun, despite the fact that it's got a card thing associated with it.
Boo.
Yeah, despite that, it's actually pretty cool. It's actually a lot of fun.
Deadlands is another system I've always wanted to try.
I've not
Never
played that
did.
either, and it's another one. I love it conceptually. I've read through the rules. Not a big fan.
Less the Weird West, more the post-apocalyptic Wasted West.
Yeah.
Because that's just all sorts of like honest to godness, over the top weirdness. Like complete. That's Gamma World toned down a little bit to the point where it's not a parody of itself.
Um, Actually, the newer version of Deadlands using Savage Worlds is actually an improvement, in my opinion, over the old Deadlands, which was
Okay.
cool. Though very strangely, almost every skill the original Deadlands was really weird in that virtually everything in the game you resolve by basically using a deck of playing cards and assembling poker hands, except
Yep.
actually playing poker.
I remember that. Yes.
Which is still one of my favorite. Wait, what? um.
I'm certain that was put in there as a joke.
Oh, almost certainly. Um. Yeah, but yeah, so but I in high school I got to know people who were that's where I found out about Cyberpunk 2020.
Yep.
I knew almost nothing about I didn't know much about cyberpunk as a genre until then. I mean, I was the science fiction area was mostly classic science fiction, like like classic old science fiction. Because my dad had had a bunch of collection of old compilations of old science fiction short stories and shit. Uh, um, and that's I was introduced to my friend of mine, got cyberpunk and was all excited about it, and because he'd read he'd read a bunch of the classic cyberpunk books. He'd read Philip
Yep.
K. Dick. He'd read everybody else. It's like, okay, sure.
They read Burning Chrome
Yep.
and Mona Lisa Overdrive and Neuromancer and all
Yep.
that shit. Wow, I just named 3 William Gibson novels.
Yep. Astonished. Not surprised, Eric.
The guy who invented cyberpunk, I never would have figured.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that guy was the reason I actually read Neuromancer the first time. Uh, and I enjoyed Neuromancer, but I never really got into Cyberpunk because it just didn't. As a game, it didn't appeal to me. I thought the novels the books that I'd read were good, but they just didn't speak to me as a game. Then Shadowrun came out, and I was like, oh, okay, that I can sort of understand. The additional fantasy elements made it feel like more like a game to me, I think.
Fair enough.
Um,
I looked at Shadowrun. Holy crap! It's fucking Blade Runner, but with orcs
Mhm.
and elves and trolls. And why the fuck does not everyone play this all the fucking time?
there's a reason for that, Eric.
Well, it was a FASTA game. Amazing world building, shitty systems.
Oh God.
It was another game that I always thought was a really cool world, but I never played the system. Never actually played was Earth Dawn.
Oh my
Partially
god,
because
Earth Dawn.
I picked up the book, and, way back in high school, when I was pseudo working for the guy that owned the game store up the street from my house. By pseudo working, I mean I occasionally covered the register and like painted shit on his walls because, well, for some reason, this like ancient biker that decided to open a gaming store liked me. Wasn't so ancient at the time. He probably is now.
He seemed ancient to you at the time.
Not that old. He was maybe a few years younger than my dad.
Fair enough.
Holy shit! I think I'm the same age as Charlie was when I first met him. Anyway. Anyway, yeah. So I picked up Earth Dawn just as payment for like one of the working like working a shift, quote unquote, at his shop, and I took one look at the system and oh my god, this is fucking terrible, but I love the world.
God, the weird way the way you changed between what types of dice you were rolling.
Yeah, like the whole weird like step system.
Yeah.
Like Jesus.
Yeah, that was FASA at its most FASA, I think.
Absolutely. But what a neat world! Like the idea of this like high fantasy setting where magic's actually receding, so the Lovecraftian horrors that ruled the world are becoming weaker, so people can actually come out of their fucking like fantasy bunkers.
Yep. It's interesting. It's actually a really interesting world. I agree. But yeah, the system was a giant turnoff for me. Also,
Yeah.
Again, it was a game I'd sort of seen advertised and never picked up, and then a friend of mine brought a copy in. They picked it up and said, "Look at this system."
They had cards. They had cards printed in the middle of the fucking book that you're expected to tear out to use in the game.
Yep. God damn it, FASA. Oh my god. So yeah, yeah, Deadlands just one of those games I keep looking at. I keep going, oh god, I like the world's interesting, but I think it's an interesting. I think Deadlands is another one of the games for me that I conceptually think the world's really neat, but I'm not sure I ever really could get into running it.
Back in not high school, early days of college, one of the people I used to game with was talking about running Deadlands, which is my first real exposure to it. Like
right.
Beyond like flipping through the book in a gaming store.
Right.
And it never got off the ground. But I remember like going, okay, so here's an idea for a character, because he wanted it, because we're all Warhammer fans at the time. He wanted to incorporate a bit of the Chaos Gods into it.
Sure.
As the guys who were actually behind Ghost Rock. Because we're all nerds. I was like, so here's an idea. I like the idea of the undead gunslinger. But what if instead of being undead, I was marked by Nurgle? And he was like, okay, I love the idea, but the entire system breaks down if you don't accidentally draw the Revenant card when you're building your character. Wait a minute, I didn't catch that. Oh fuck, to be an undead gunslinger, I have to draw a particular card when I'm built. Oh, that's such bullshit.
Yeah, as I said, there are issues with that. Yeah, my main issue with Deadlands, and one of the reasons I think it doesn't grab me, is just exactly how doomed the world is. Like I can appreciate doomed worlds to a certain degree, but after a certain point, there's a little level of, okay, yeah, I get the world's doomed. I get that the fact the player characters are screwed and there's nothing they could possibly. Oh, okay, yeah. Long term, everybody loses. Stop rubbing it in.
Here's the thing, though. That's kind of like the big appeal for both Werewolf and Deadlands to me.
Oh, I know.
Like that, the whole doomed heroism. Like,
I get.
yes, you are going to fail, but you have to try anyway.
I
am
get that.
such a sucker for the doomed hero.
I get that, and I get the appeal of that, but I like that being a conscious choice for me. If I'm building a character specifically,
Okay,
like
fair
I
enough.
can totally appreciate building. I can totally get behind building a doomed hero for myself. I
Mm,
don't like the mandated setting that everybody's doomed.
okay, I can grok that. Because player choice is paramount.
Yeah,
Um, as much as I may sometimes like look at some another player's choice in making their character and want to scream at them for how stupid that might be,
oh, that happens all
and I
the time.
occasionally have, and I feel bad about it.
Why would you do that?
This entire concept is flawed according to this entire concept is not canonically acceptable. What is wrong with you? I've had that rant recently, even by recently within past 5 years.
Yeah. I've got another setting where I like the setting, but I've never been able to run the game because of the system.
What's that?
There's a caveat that will be changing, which is Star Trek.
Yes.
I conceptually love the idea of doing a Star Trek role-playing game. And until recently, every Star Trek role-playing game system I've looked at, I've gone, gah!
Yes. I love that you're letting me play a fucking KDF character on a Starfleet ship.
Yeah, there was an example of that happening in the series that showed me a way that I could make it work. So
right.
I'm aware of a way it could work. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm okay with this.
We're really breaking up there, dude.
Am I breaking up? Okay.
I think the storm is moving in. For those who don't know, we're having a bit of a storm. Or we're having a snowmageddon now.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah,
or will be soon.
Yes. So yeah.
You
Anyways,
seem to be doing fine now.
yeah, it was a little hiccup, I guess. But yeah. But yeah, so just the number of bad Star Trek role-playing games that have been out.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
But I will say Modiphius' game looks good from what I've read of it.
We'll find out. Everything, yeah. Like, if a system looks bad when you first look at it, it's probably absolutely terrible. But you don't know if it's good until you actually put it through the paces.
I would generally agree with you. There are games where I would say 95% of the time when I've read the rules and had a good impression of the game from reading the rules, the games ended up being something I liked.
Okay. You're also much more of a gamist than I am.
Yes, I am.
I tend to get dazzled by good writing and flavor.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I love good writing and flavor too, but that cannot save a bad system.
This is true. Look at first edition Shadowrun.
Uh-huh. And like honestly, for me, look at virtually all of White Wolf.
I have less issues with the system in White Wolf. I think that's. I'm going to be honest. My history as a Warhammer player, not just a wargamer, but specifically as a Warhammer player, means I adore dice pools. The more dice I get to roll is better.
And that I'm okay with that. It's the sheer lack of actual concrete rules in White Wolf that bothers me.
Werewolf Second Edition was better about that.
Oh, sure.
It was probably the best hard rules. I'm going to say because it didn't have the vagaries that you had in the vampire disciplines or the complete fucking come up with an explanation as to why it works for mage. And that the whole spirit gifts thing was like, this is what this gift does. This is what it costs in experience. This is the requirements for that gift. The end.
Yeah.
Also, you got to be a giant 8-9 foot tall were monster and Also, doomed heroism, and you
Yep.
get to know exactly how doomed everything is.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked werewolf.
And as I said, I was more of a mage guy, and and right there explains the difference in our opinions on the settings.
Right
A
there,
werewolf,
the
you're
turns on
doomed.
us. Period.
Yeah, werewolf, you're doomed. The world is doomed. Mage is all about trying to save the goddamn world,
Yes.
and they're actually being hoped at trying to do so.
Here's the thing: I love mage. There's a lot I adore about mage.
Sure.
Like the whole idea of consensual reality just blows my mind. I think is awesome.
It's really cool.
Yes.
I just wish that it wasn't a White Wolf game. Jesus Christ, original mage. All right, so I've got 2 dots. I've got
Oh my
three...
god, the Sons of Ether and the fucking what were the guys with the entropy specialty?
Oh God, I've forgotten.
Oh
It's
man.
been too long since I read it.
Like at first reading you're like, these guys are all about like death and decay, and then you're like, no, they're about manipulating chance. Oh my god, that's amazing.
Uh huh. Oh God, yeah. But yeah, no,
The Sons of Ether, by the way, were fucking like mad techno mages. They were amazing.
but the original sort of listing is like, okay, so all right, I've got 3 dots in whatever, pick a particular school of magic. What does this mean? You can create 3-dot effects.
Okay, what's a 3-dot effect? I don't know. Tell me.
I hate you, White Wolf.
Son of a bitch.
I hate you so. I hate you with a white hot intensity of 1,000 stars.
And that's what kept me from really playing mage.
Yes, because they didn't explain a goddamn thing in the rulebook.
I remember playing a game. It was like only like 3 or 4 of us in it. It was a very small game, but the game master was like, I'm running a White Wolf game.
Sure.
Play whatever."
Yep.
And I ended up playing a werewolf. Go figure. I played a Get of Fenris. Go figure. I played the fucking Viking werewolf.
Sure. I'm not surprised. Color me unsurprised.
Yeah. And there was a vampire, and a mage. Yeah, it was 3 of us.
Uh-huh.
And the amount of... Thank God the mage and the game master were dating. Because the amount of, like, brief instant discussions about, like, what exactly she could do... And thank God they were both like pretty like he was not afraid to tell her no, that's too much, tone it down, and that she was able to, and she generally was pretty good at like figuring out what like was a reasonable effect.
Right. I mean, to be fair, mages are supposed to be able to. The whole point about mages is you're able to bend reality.
Yes.
It's just that reality occasionally doesn't like it when you do that. Hence paradox.
Right.
Oh God! The other thing with issue with first edition is the better you were at Magic, the more likely you were to create paradox by accident because the rules were badly written.
Yeah.
They did not mean it that way. But the original writing was just like, oh my God. Stefan in the chat's right. Mage is a freeform game pretending not to be a freeform game.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's true of all early White Wolf.
Everything gets better in second edition for the White Wolf
Yes,
games.
I would agree with that completely.
Especially with Werewolf.
Yep. Oh, Mage got a lot
Werewolf
better.
like
second edition,
just
too.
cuts out the whole like dot system for what you can do, and just like, okay, we're keeping the dot system for skills because that's the White Wolf thing. But like as far as supernatural abilities go, you buy the fucking gift.
Oh, that's so good. I wish they'd done that with Mage.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one other game. Before we wrap up, there's one other game I love conceptually and have never played because, oh my God, I don't want to do the work. Also, I've never had enough people who'd be willing to actually to do the game the way it's supposed to be done, which is I would love to do an Ars Magica game someday.
Yeah.
The problem is it's a lot of work, and everyone is expected to game master at some point.
My problem with Ars Magica is I'm expected to have like a dozen different characters, but all
Yes.
I want is the one fucking character.
I know, and I love the
That's my
concept.
problem with Ars Magica.
I love the concept of the troop style role playing thing where your characters are rotating and such. And I really enjoy
Yes, I love. It's kind of what we're doing with the Shadowrun game, except it's just between two different game masters. Like the person's character will end up sliding into an NPC role, which doesn't mean they have any less of effect, or the team can't make use of them any less than they do. It's just like they take a back seat. It's not their episode type of deal,
right?
Which is really cool because, like, say Chris's character Max, the robot obsessed rigger, is not the driving force behind this thing when Chris is running.
Right.
Same deal with Matt's character and Seth, the hedonistic Kabbalistic mage. So many. Oh my! I love that all of our characters are functionally insane. I'm just gonna say that. Giant piles of fucking neuroses. Because why else would you do this job?
Yeah.
Like the time I think the moment where I realized Matt's character has the cowardice flaw in our current Shadowrun game was not because he's afraid of getting hurt, but because he's terrified of disappointing his dad. Getting hurt is the problem, it's disappointing dad.
Nice. Alright, we should probably wrap things up here.
Briefly, Dewani says, you can be a were-shark. Yes, you can be a were-shark. More importantly, you can be an anarchist were-rat. I love the Rykin.
Werewolf is a very interesting game that's not my cup of tea.
Werewolf is a giant ball of crazy insanity, and I adore it. Anyway, as you were saying, wrapping up.
Yeah, we should wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. This was fun. Honestly, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, honestly, we haven't done one. We haven't had a really fun episode like this in a while. Honestly,
well, the brainstorming episode was a lot of fun.
The brainstormings don't count; they're always fun.
Yeah, fair point. That's actually really a fair point. Oh my god. At any rate, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Next week, I suspect next week we're going to be doing our next episode of 3 Men in Anime. And we are not going to tell you what the series we're doing is. Because it'll be just way too much fun for you guys to stumble into what we're actually talking about.
I'm just going to say, it is the opposite of Kato, the right answer.
Kinda, yeah. But that's going to do it for this
say
week.
it's stupid. I don't do... That's not true. I do stupid. I do stupid with a reason, is what I do.
Anyways, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed. Normally, we save time at the end of each episode for viewer questions. We don't actually have any this week, at least not that I could find. Also, we've run long, so...
Yeah.
That would have gone out the window anyways.
Yeah.
But if you do have questions you'd like us to answer in the show, please do send them to us. Our email address is surlygrognards@yahoo.com, surlygrognards@yahoo.com, or you can post them in the comment section on YouTube. If you've got feedback for us, ways we can make the show better, things we could do better, etc., constructive criticism and all that jazz, we love getting that too. Please send it to us at either of those locations. Lastly, if you've got show topic suggestions, things you'd like to spend an entire episode talking about, not just a quick question you'd like us to answer at the end, but like an actual full show topic suggestion, goddamn, we love those.
Yeah, those are the best. Those are amazing. We will not always do your suggestions because we'll look at them and go, that is completely outside of my wheelhouse. I don't have the knowledge base to do it proper justice.
Yeah,
so
we've gotten a few of those where we're looking at it like, wow, that's a good topic that we can't do.
Yeah.
But if we haven't done, if you sent them in before and we haven't done them, it's not that we think it's a bad one. I don't think we've gotten one we thought was a bad idea.
No, I don't think we have. Like I said, we've done a couple. We've gotten a couple where like that's so completely aside of my wheelhouse.
And we've got a couple that were like, that'd be a good topic for some other time when, like, there are a few we've gotten which we haven't gotten to yet that we passed on the time because they weren't speaking to us at the time.
Right.
Because there are weeks where it's like, yeah, that'd be a good topic for another week when we're more in that sort of frame of mind. But
Yes.
I should go back there and double check all the suggestions we've gotten. But again, if you've got new ones or you've got old ones that we haven't covered, you want to send them in again, go right ahead. Please don't. Just because you sent it to
do that.
Just because we sent it to us before, if it's been a while, resend it. Just let us know that, hey, I made the session before. You haven't covered it yet. I can't guarantee we'll cover it. It might be something we really just don't feel comfortable covering because we just don't.
Not necessarily just don't feel comfortable covering. Like, we'd like to cover that, but it...
Yeah.
For example, one of the more recent ones involved doing a fantasy brainstorming set in the Middle East mythology. I know that genies are a thing. I know that Ifrit are a thing. That's about my extent of Middle East mythology.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm aware of some of the Babylonian stuff. Yeah, I know Gilgamesh.
Yeah, like Gilgamesh and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, and Kidu. Yeah, I don't know enough about that to be able to do a brainstorming session on it. I'm sorry. I might do research on it at some point just so that because it's interesting. Like, again, like doing a campaign set in like ancient Egypt, like inspired by ancient Egypt, would also be very cool. What I know about ancient Egyptian mythology is basically nothing.
Covered in Stargate.
Yeah, and that doesn't count. Yeah, I know a few bits and pieces here. I know some of the names. I know some of the rough.
I know there's a god with a crocodile head, and he's awesome.
Sobek, yes.
And that either Ra or Horus is the god of the sun and has a falcon head. I could never remember which.
Ra's the god of the sun, Horus is the god of knowledge.
Okay.
I know a
See,
bit.
You're better at it than I am.
Yes, because I've done a little research on it. Yeah, my knowledge of ancient Egyptian gods largely comes from Dungeons and Dragons. The old deities and demigods books.
I'm not gonna lie, that was the start of a lot of my knowledge.
Mm-hmm. At any rate, that's going to do it for this week, though, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We also, I forgot to mention, we record the show most Monday nights starting at about 7 p.m. Eastern here on twitch.tv/MechaGM. So if you want to catch us live, that's where we record the show live. Otherwise, I put the show up onto YouTube, usually the day after we record. Anyways, that's going to do it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you guys next time. Keep on gaming, everybody.
Bye.